Let's start a discussion on very important topic, that is the quant risks in regulatory risks and navigate the intersection of finance and compliance. And I help you detail what are the quant career in the regulatory risks and how what are the knowledge you should require, what field you focus on to be a quant career in regulatory requirements and unlocking the opportunity for analytics mind in the dynamic field. So let's start discussion on in this video, so this will definitely help you. So let's first I'll give you the introduction. What is a regulatory risk? So what kind of the risks, the regulatory risks, the regulatory risk is the risk of the financial losses or the damage to the firm reputation due to the failure to comply with the laws and the regulation and the code of conduct and the internal policies which is defined by the regulator. So in India, regulator is the central bank or the financial intelligence units of India or the financial action task force, or in the international level, there is a Basel committee, the Basel 3 norms or the Solvency 2 or the Dodd-Frank Act. These are the regulators. They define the regulation rules and regulations, how the finance banks or the financial institutions or the insurance company or the hedge funds will work, how to manage the market risks, credit risks, operation risks, or the liquidity risks. The regulator will guide them, and accordingly they will work and they meet the regulatory requirement, and there's the internal policies and the internal requirements. So the role of the quant to meet that regulatory requirement is the quantitative analyst will use the mathematical and the statistical and the AIML technique or the programming knowledge to analyze and to manage the financial risks and to optimize the financial risks and to to calculate the values or the numbers that helps the financial institutions to meet the regulatory requirements. And the quantitative analysts, they are build the models to predict the outcomes from the price of complex instrument and now ensure the regulatory compliance. They will able to help the financial institution to meet or to manage the regulatory compliance. So that's are the role of quant analyst or the quant field in the regulatory risks. Okay, so let's move on the next slide, that is why the quant are essential in the regulatory risks. So why the banks, financial institution, or the quant or the regulator getting more and more hiring for the quant role. So first one is the complexity of regulations, data driven compliance, model validation, and the trace testing or the model testing or the model building. So let's discuss on the complexity of regulations. In the modern way or in the modern, financial regulation are highly complex and require the sophisticated model to interpret and implement on that way. So the regulator are increasing their the complex techniques, and they are more focusing on AIML or the mathematical, the statistical techniques. So that's the bank want the quant roles or the quant teams that will meet the regulatory requirements and the data driven compliance. The regulatory reporting are risk major and increasing the data intensive, requiring advanced analytical skills and the 360-degree way knowledge. Okay, then the model validation or the model building or the model creating. So regulator demand rigorous model validation, continuously testing, scenario analysis of the model, like internal models used for the risk measurement and core the functions of the quants. So use the statistical techniques, mathematical techniques, or AIML techniques to validate or to test this model or to do the analysis on that model which are fit in the banks or the financial institution. Is that working as per the regulatory requirement, or is that working on the regulatory rules and guidelines that satisfy the regulatory guidelines, or if they need to change their threshold or their tuning, so continuously tuning will do such models. So quant will do that tuning, the quant role will do that tuning, and then the stress testing and the scenario analysis. So quant builds and the run the stress testing to evaluate the firm resilience under the adverse economic condition and key regulatory requirement. So in a trace testing and scenario analysis, the quantitative team or the quant team will do condition the scenarios like 2008 financial crisis, COVID crisis, or to consider the if the suddenly stock price will decrease the 50% or the 60%, or the interest rate on the fixed income get increases. So what is the impact on the portfolio, or what is the impact on that financial institution, or there the rules and regulations. So that level will done by the quant analysts use the mathematical or the statistical techniques or the AIML techniques. So let's move on. The next slide is the key roles and responsibilities of the quant will perform. So first one is a model development, model validation, regulatory reporting, trace testing, and scenario analysis, and data analysis and governance. So let's discuss on the model development. So quantitative team or the quant analyst will building a new quantitative model for the risk measurement, like a value at risk model or the conditional war model or the CVA model, so that meet the regulatory standard or satisfy the regulatory requiremements as per the guideline of the Basel Committee or the central bank or the financial intelligence units to calculate the war or the FARTB, fundamental review of trading book. So that's related to calculate and to satisfy their risk weighted assets, or RGV, how they define. So accordingly develop the model and calculate the valuation of that. So model validation, so independently reviewing and validating the model development by other team and ensure they are robust and fit for the purpose why they are building. So they what to implement the business logic or the business rule in that model, so that will satisfy the model condition, and to do the threshold tuning or tuning on that model with the statistical technique or the machine learning technique or the mathematical technique. And then the regulatory reporting will happen. So prepare and submitting the detailed risk report to regulatory bodies like the Federal Reserve or the European Banking Authority. So that all detailed reporting will prepare by the quant team or the quantitative analyst and submit these report to the regulatory bodies for further review and further analysis, and validate that model is working as the expected by the regulators. And then the trace testing and scenario analysis will work. So designing and executing the comprehensive stress testing and to assess the impact of extreme event on the firm of balance sheets. If there is extreme event will come, so what are the impact of the firm's balance sheets? So that way the trace testing and scenario analysis will done by the quant analyst or the quant team. So data analysis and governance ensuring the accuracy, completeness, and integrity of data used in the regulatory model. So data will be accurate or the appropriate and the real world data. So that will use by the live models or the development models or the validation of that model. So that's are the key roles and responsibilities of the quant team or the quantitative analyst. So let's move on the next slide. That is a required skill for and the qualification to be a quant analyst. Guys, it is the great field, and that will give you higher and higher salary if you are the part of quant teams. So the technical skills and the domain skill and the soft skills, which what you should have. So in a technical skill, you should have the strong programming skills like a Python, R, C++. You should understand the libraries in the Python like NumPy, Pandas, Cbon, or the Matplotlib, or the scikit-learn, AIML libraries. And you should have the great good hands-on experience in the Python libraries, Python and the C plus and the R. You should have the expertise in the statistical analysis, econometrics, or the mathematical analysis, AIML techniques, or the number methods, to linear algebra, different mathematical or the statistical techniques, and the knowledge on the database and the data manipulation. You should have the knowledge on the SQL, no SQL, how that will use, or the data visualizations for to be a, that will be the technical skill you should have. And you should have the domain knowledge. So guys, domain knowledge is the most important thing you should have. You should understand deep understanding of the financial product and the market, how that the financial product will work, what are the market requirement. You should have the deep and detailed understanding of that things, and throughout the knowledge of relevant regulations. You should have the regulatory knowledge like a Basel 3, CRR, or the central bank rules and regulations, the financial intelligence units rules and regulations. So you should have that level of knowledge. And then the soft skills, excellent communication skills. Communication skill, you should have ability to explain the complex concept to the non-technical stakeholder. Like a business analyst skill, you should have excellent communication skills. You should be able to attention to details and the problem solving and the critical thinking skill. You should think beyond the 60 degree and the problem solving. So let's move on the next slide. So education and the career path. So what the education you should have, so that will be better for you to be a quant analyst. So you should have the masters or the PhD in the quantitative field like the mathematics, physics, engineering, finance, or the computer science. You should have master and PhD in that field. So it is easy to get the quant roles and the professional certification like the FRM, Financial Risk Manager, and the CQF. It is and the most important and the trading certification, that is the CQF, Certificate of Quantitative Finance, and it is an highly valued certification. If you get that is the more good. And if you can get the Indian some certification from the Indian Institute of Quantitative Finance, that is the financial engineering certification, or you can get the quantitative finance and risk management certification to be a part of the quant team. You can get the free certification from the WorldCon University. It is an MSc in financial engineering. So that is also better. I am also pursuing that MSc in financial engineering, and I am getting the great experience from that certification. So the career path, initially you can join any financial institution or the big firm or the bank or the regulatory bodies to be as a junior quant analyst, and then gain or understanding the quant knowledge, because it is and the quant to get the job in the quant field is not easy and get the job in the other field. So it is and the very challenging field. So get join the junior quant analyst, and then the senior quant analyst, then the principal quant analyst, and the head of the quant or the risk modeling department, and the chief risk officer. So these are the career path you should look like. And then the opportunity in exist bank and asset management firm and the hedge fund and the regulatory bodies. So you can grab the opportunities, or the IT organization that will create the models of for the banks, or the quant models for the bank. So get opportunity to work in that way in the small trip and get beyond your thinkings. So the future outlook, so how your future will look like after you are getting all these things. The field is growing rapidly, and regulation become more stringent and the complex, and huge are the requirement in the market for the quant risks. You know itself, if you have the knowledge of mathematics, statistics, if you have knowledge the AI/ML or the programming language, or the deep regulatory requirement knowledge, and if you have the deep domain knowledge of the finance domain knowledge, if you can consider how much the knowledge you should have. So your future, you are that skill are itself in the unique. So that's why you are get the tremendous job opportunity in the markets, and emerging technology like AI and the machine learning for further enhance the roles of quant in regulatory risks. And then the increase in demand for the professional who can bridge the gap between the financial theory, data science, and the regulatory compliances. So there are the huge demand for of the search field in the market. So you can get the more benefits and increase your salary and the compensation also. The summary of this video is the quant is crucial for navigating the complex landscape for the regulatory risks, and you can demand in the market, your demand will increase, and the role combine the advanced analytical skill and with the deep understanding of financial regulations, and the understanding the compliance that provided by the financial action task for the Basel 3 committees. And it's challenging but rewarding career with excellent growth and the perspective. It is and the challenging and not easy to get in that field, but once you are enter, and it is give you the excellent growth opportunity and give you more salary. So let's, so if you have any questions, please free to ask, and please comment on my video. So I'll definitely answer your question how to prepare for the quant roles. And please like and subscribe my channel, so you will be understanding the quant techniques from me. So thank you so much attending these videos, and please do likes and subscribe my channel, so that will motivate me to create more and more videos for you, like the quant fields. Thank you so much, student. Thank you so much, learners. I'm very happy to, help to be a part of the quant team in the hedge fund one company or the banks or the financial institution. Thank you so much once again.